A possibility that we've been talking about for a while is happening. Dylan Cozens to the wing. We're going to talk about it, and I got some power rankings all ahead here on today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. That includes our YouTube channel where you can check us out there, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Sneaky Joe DiBiase coming to you on Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody. It's my favorite holiday. I think it's my number one holiday. It's the best. How can you not love Halloween? You've got great fall weather at all times. Today, 75 degrees in Buffalo and perfect, no rain or anything outside. Perfect for trick-or-treating a little bit later on. You got candy. Everyone gets to dress up, do costumes. You get creativity involved. Everybody, their own personal flair a little bit. So I love Halloween. And the Sabres often do play on Halloween. Sometimes. They're not playing tonight. They'll play tomorrow, of course, against the New York Islanders, which will be their next game in action. We'll preview that on our next show. Today, though, we got some bigger picture stuff to talk about, even though this news does relate in the short term as well. There's a short-term ramification here, and there's a long-term ramification here. The news that Dylan Cozens is being moved to the wing, at least for the time being. How permanent is this? We'll have to see. It's probably more of an experimental thing, I would guess, in the mind of Lindy Ruff right now. But there is a possibility that this sticks. And that would create, if Dylan Cozens sticks to the wing, it will create some good things, and it will create a bad thing as well. And we'll get to all that coming up on today's show of the Locked On Sabres podcast. If you would like to get involved, if you wanted the news right away from practice, maybe you're at work and you can't be locked into Twitter at all times of the day, and you want to know when news like this breaks, become a member of our Locked On Sabres text club. You sign up, join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres. If you just have your phone off to the side, bam, text message, maybe you get it to your watch like I do, and you just look down and go, up from the Locked On Sabres text club, Dylan Cozens moved to wing, skating on a line with Ryan McCleod and Jordan Greenway. Bam. You don't even have to look at Twitter. You just get the news right then and there. Or if you've got a complaint or a comment or a question that you want to get in on the show, that's always available to you as well on our text club. And let's get your thoughts first in on this before I go on what it means that Dylan Cozens is now practicing and I think probably playing tomorrow night on the wing. Looking at some of your texts, Cozens, my least favorite player on the team right now. Hopefully he can figure it out. Another texter, I still think we should trade Jack Quinn and a high-level Rochester player for maybe something better. Another texter, at least he's trying something. Quinn and Kulich should interchange or one go to Rochester. And then another texter asking, they just won't sit Quinn, will they? Another one says, sounds like Kulich will be the scratch. All of those are probably accurate. Although I will say they'll sit Quinn. They did it already once this year. And I don't know that Don Granato, for comparison, would have ever got there with Jack Quinn. He might have just let him play through it. Will they sit Quinn again? That's a good question. The other texter about will Kulich be the scratch? I would guess right now that Yuri Kulich will be the scratch for the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow night against the New York Islanders, but we'll see tomorrow. So what this news gives you is a new set of lines. If you want to check us out on our YouTube channel, we'll put the lines up here for you. But what you had today at practice here on Thursday was Tage Thompson centering J.J. Peterka and Alex Tuch. That line is not going anywhere. Seen some numbers about that line being one of the top 5 lines so far in the National Hockey League. You don't break that up. Right now, the quote-unquote second line for the Buffalo Sabres is Ryan McCleod centering Jordan Greenway and Dylan Cozens. Cozens playing with McCleod, two very fast players. That's the first guy that they're sticking Cozens with after his move here from center to the wing. Again, maybe temporary, maybe permanent. We'll have to see how it goes. Peyton Krebs now, this is the shakeup, is your third line center. Peyton Krebs, who I did not like as the Sabres third line center last year, but I have liked this year when he's been asked to be their fourth line center. He gets an opportunity, again, to jump up in the lineup a little bit and show that he is more than a fourth line guy. He will be centering Jack Quinn and Jason Zucker. And I do like these line mates for Krebs more than the line mates he had at times last year. There were points and times when he got that third line center opportunity. He was playing with Jeff Skinner. The two never really looked like they meshed well together. Krebs got an opportunity with Victor Olofsson, Zach Benson as well. What Zucker I really like about with Krebs is I think, again, it's kind of you're tying the speed in together the same way you're doing it with McCleod and Cozens. Zucker has been a very good player for the Sabres so far this year, and he gives you a little bit of that defensive prowess while also giving you the offensive ability to play with Krebs. And then Jack Quinn, just let's see if we could get him going, right? Fourth line, Sam Lafferty, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, and Beck Malenstein. And Yuri Kulik, yes, is probably out of that rotation right now. He was rotating with Malenstein, but I just don't see Kulik playing on a fourth line like that. So that's what you got. Cozens with McCleod and Greenway, Krebs with Quinn and Zucker. Now, let's get to what it really means and how we got here. That Dylan Cozens is now going to be playing on the wing, at least for now. It's something that he's done at the international level. He every time goes to play for Team Canada at the World Championships. Where do they stick him? They stick him as a top six winger, and he's thrived at that. He's playing for Canada in an international tournament, so that would make sense. But what's really happened over the last 89 games for Dylan Cozens, in his last 89 games, almost entirely playing center on every shift, 18 goals and 50 points is just so far below the expectation for what is required, what they need from Dylan Cozens. And what I expect to see on the short term is a player that is freed up to not think as much. I think he looks overwhelmed at times when he's playing center. He looks overwhelmed with who to cover in the defensive zone, where he's scrambling around trying to find the right man. He looks overwhelmed when he's entering the zone and needing to make the right decision, because as the centerman, it's kind of on you, man. Like you're entering the zone, you're making the decision here. Do you want to throw it out to the wing? Do you want to slow the play up? You're kind of dictating the pace. Do you want to slow up and drop it back to your defenseman? Do you want to chip it in and then go get it? Do you want to carry it in yourself? You are met when you reach that blue line with the puck as a center, which you do as a center more than as a winger. You're met with the decision, how are we going to get set up here? Or how are we going to get a chance off the rush? And Cozens looks like he overthinks things or just isn't thinking on too many occasions to be right now playing down the middle. And man, I hope that's something he can get back to. But for right now, I think this is just a move to get him going. Any which way, get some production. And on the short term, the Sabres, who are 4-5-1 on the year and are in need of getting wins, have to, I think right now, act on a short-term basis. Is this the right move for the long term? I want to get to that. I don't. But I think you have to make the decision for right here, right now. You have to make the decision for tomorrow night against the New York Islanders. What gives the Buffalo Sabres a better chance to win that hockey game? And I think right now, Lindy Ruff is making the right decision to answer that question. I think the right answer is you are splitting up Dylan Cozens and Jack Quinn, and you are trying to get Dylan Cozens going by throwing him on the wing with a centerman who has looked very impressive for the Buffalo Sabres so far this year. So, who are your four best centers right now? I think this is the answer. I think it's Tage, McCleod, Krebs, and Lafferty. All four of which I would say have met or exceeded my expectations for the season. I think Tage so far has exceeded them. I think McCleod has exceeded them. Krebs even, I would say, has exceeded them. And Lafferty, I would say, has met expectations. He's a fourth-line grinder guy, and he's doing pretty good at it. That's where you want to be right now when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres down the middle. And I hope that this is going to get Cozens going because he makes $7 million a year to be a top 6 contributor for this hockey team. And it's not happening right now at all. Has not scored a goal this year. And maybe this will allow him to have more plays around the net. Maybe this will allow him to kind of work the perimeter a little bit more, try to get his shot going, and kind of takes the pressure off defensively. I have not liked Cozens defensively really his entire career. I think he's been vastly overrated as a two-way player because he's a hard worker and where he's from. Being from Yukon, right? Being from Whitehorse, I think almost no matter what, your nickname being the workhorse from Whitehorse, you're going to have the reputation of being a good two-way player. And that's not to say he doesn't work hard. He does. But mentally, he's not what you thought he would be in his own end. And I think you're relieving him of some of that pressure and some of needing to think in that way by putting Ryan McCleod down the middle. McCleod, who is a very responsible defensive centerman, I think is going to be a big deal for Dylan Cozens. So we'll see how it works. I think that's how I think it will go. That's how Lindy Ruff, I'm sure, thinks it will go, but we're not really going to know until we see it. This is an experiment. I have no idea what Dylan Cozens is going to look like as a winger at the NHL level. Because, in fact, I can't remember when he's ever really done it for any long stretch. I couldn't tell you when he's done it. As a rookie coming into the league, he was a center. And he's basically been a center for the almost 300 games that he's played. So this is new. It might go horribly wrong. That's a possibility. It might look great. And if it goes great, the Sabres are going to be met with an interesting dilemma. Not necessarily maybe almost a good problem to have. Almost a good problem to have. It could become a bad problem to have. If Dylan Cozens starts succeeding on the wing, what are the Buffalo Sabres going to do at second line center for the long term? That will become a big, big question for them. Get to the long-term effect of what's happening right now when we come back. And also, little revisionist history. But this move today has me thinking about a move that, man, I wish you could just slap a redo button on right now. Get to that when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast with Sneaky Joe DiBiase. We are brought to you here on the Locked On Sabres podcast by our friends at PrizePicks. You can right now check out PrizePicks. Is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for their lineups. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, check out the app, PrizePicks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres and Islanders tomorrow night, Friday night at KeyBank Center. They will be wearing black and red for a little post-Halloween action. Probably some costumes, I'm sure, in the crowd. Let's get to this move to put Dylan Cozens at the wing and what this kind of Pandora's box that it kind of opens up for the long term. I think short term, it's the right move. Let's assume it works. Let's say Dylan Cozens on the wing looks like he did 2 years ago. Looks like someone that could score 30 goals. Looks like someone that could put up 60 plus points. Someone that looks dangerous. Let's say that starts happening. And it becomes clear, hey, this is working. We don't want to mess with him. We don't want to put him back at center. You don't have to do that, by the way. That's one way to do it. You could say, hey, we got him going. Now let's put him back at center and hope he carries that momentum into that position where we planned on him playing and we paid him to play. That's the thing here, right? For the long term. I would understand why Kevin Adams and the Sabres organization would be very hesitant to make this move and why they waited this long to make this move. This is now basically 90 hockey games that Dylan Cozens has performed below the expectation at second line center. And now he's not there anymore for the time being. You paid him to be your second line center. The Sabres would have planned when they paid these guys, Tage Thompson and Dylan Cozens, tied together on 7-year contracts. They would have planned on these two being their top two centermen for 7 years, not having to think about center, not even having to think about top six center for the duration of those contracts. And here we are into year 2 since they paid him. And we're already faced with the dilemma of, well, what now? What now? You have Thompson playing like a number one center and you can't get Cozens to do anything down the middle. Well, one, to play the revisionist game, hindsight's 2020, I know. If I could smack a redo button right now, I would totally undo the Casey Middlestat trade. And it's definitely hindsight 2020 for me. I wanted the Sabres to make that trade. I yelled about the Sabres making that trade for weeks, months before they did it. That, hey, this is the move. You've got your centers. You've got another second line center in your bottom six. Go take that asset, spin it for the same level of talent on the blue line. And I don't mind Bo Byram at all. Bo Byram made a big mistake the other night. He's not a perfect defenseman right now at all. I like Bo Byram as a player. I really do. And I think there's still more upside there for him at this age. But I would redo it. I would undo it because right now, Bo Byram is your number 3 defenseman. And that's fine. That's an important position. It's not as important as your second line center. Not at all. And right now, you got to wish the Sabres had Casey Middlestat to be their second line center. And maybe they could have made this move sooner. Maybe they could have begun the year this way. But Middlestat's gone. He's the second line center right now on a stacked Colorado team. Although I know they've struggled a little bit out of the gates here. Actually, what is Colorado so far this year? They are 5-6. They're having a little bit of a slow start. But Colorado's Colorado. They're going to figure it out. Middlestat here right now would make this so much easier. But he's gone. So, now what? Ryan McCleod, for the time being, is the Buffalo Sabres second line center. I like how Ryan McCleod has looked so far this year. I like Ryan McCleod as a player, and I would expect, going forward, he's going to put up career highs for the Buffalo Sabres. He's going to score more than 12 goals, which was his high in Edmonton. He's going to put up more than 30 points, which was his career high in Edmonton. I don't think he's a long-term option at second-line center. I just don't. I don't think he's got the offensive upside to be that level of player. What Dylan Cozens did 2 years ago, 31 goals and 68 points, which is absolutely the level of a second-line center in the NHL. I don't think Ryan McCleod ever has that season. So, is he horrific as your number 2 center? We'll see. He's going to be getting tougher matchups coming up, and we'll see how he handles that. He's going to be getting more offensive zone starts. He's going to be getting more power play time, probably. When faced with these more offensive advantageous situations, we don't really know how McCleod's going to react because he's never really done it. But the level of talent you have from him, my guess is you're going to be let down. He looks to me to be someone that you're going to be very happy with him as your third line center. And if he's your second line center, you're going to want a little bit more. You're going to wish you had somebody that could push him back down to the bottom six. So for now, I think he's your best option. For the long term, I don't think he's the guy. What about in the pipeline? That right now might be your cross your fingers, hope that there's somebody there. If Dylan Cozens is not going to be a center anymore, is Noah Ostlund going to be your number 2 center? Is Konsta Helenius going to be your number 2 center? Is Yuri Kulik, who's played a lot of center in the minors, is he going to be your number 2 center? Are they even going to put him in that position at some point here this year to try that out for a spin? Who's the guy? I've said this year. I think Zach Benson has the hockey IQ, the mental makeup to be a center. But I don't think physically he's there yet. Is Benson your future number 2 center? These are a lot of different names and a lot of different possibilities. The odds of one of those 4 guys being a number 2 center is probably actually pretty good because you have so many that could do it. But when is that going to happen? Okay, Noah Ostlund's going to be a number 2 center. Cool. When? 3 years from now? Who's fired by then? Is the GM still in place? How many coaches have I been through at that point? How long's the playoff drought? 16 years at this point? Konsta Helenius, when's he going to show up and do it? 2 years from now? I don't mind the long-term potential, like long term, like 4 or 5 years from now. Do I have a guy? Konsta Helenius right now is 18 years old. When he's 23 as my number 2 center, that might be really good. That's 5 years away, man. That's 4 or 5 years away. And to me, I don't know that you could just sit around and, one of my prospects could do it if Cozens can't. I don't like that as a strategy at all. I think that's not a place where you want to be. They've been in positions like that at other positions far too often this playoff drought to just wait around for the kids to show up and save me, because you don't always know if that's even going to happen in the first place. It's still a bit of a risk. It's just you're waiting longer for the risk. So that's where they're at long term. Right now, I think you got to wait till maybe the new year. You got to wait a couple months. See how this plays out. Experiment with things. See how McCleod does at number 2 center. Try Kulik in the middle of the ice. Maybe when Benson gets back healthy, maybe you try Benson at center. It's a big ask of him at this age to be the second line center, but I think he might give you better results than Cozens has. Try some stuff out. If you get to the new year and you're still hanging around in the race, then see what you can find on the open market. It'll be tough though, right? Like last year, a second line center got traded. Casey Middlestat. What'd he cost? Bo Byram. You got to be willing to trade a big asset to be able to do that. Now, Kevin Adams, according to Elliot Friedman in his 32 Thoughts piece early this morning, Kevin Adams is one of the most active GMs in the NHL early this season, and he's looking to add. That's what Friedman said this morning. And you know, everyone's rolling their eyes right now. Like, Kevin Adams trying to add again. He's always trying to add, right? How about you actually add? He's done that a little bit, but not to the extent fans would like. What's he looking to add? What do you think right now he's looking to add? Top 6 forward is the obvious answer. Maybe second line center, more specifically, is the right answer. Right now, if Kevin Adams could find a second line center that's gettable, that would come here, is that the trade he's looking for? Is that the search, the trade he's actively searching for? I know Boone Jenner, right, has been a name we've talked about in Columbus. And Boone Jenner is a player that I maybe the Sabres have even checked in on in the past. I think we've seen rumors of that. I don't know if we've ever seen that confirmed as a report. Boone Jenner, what's his status? He is 31. He is a guy that has scored 20 goals 3 years in a row. He plays down the middle. He's responsible defensively. He plays over 20 minutes a night. He has a really easy contract, right? Under $4 million bucks. He has not played yet this year. I forget if he's dealing with a long-term injury or what's his deal. Yeah, okay, so he'll miss most of the season with shoulder surgery. So that's more of a, maybe by the end of the year, you could bring him in and be that guy. Maybe that's a potential answer, but that's an answer where you have to wait, right? You have to wait till probably the spring to see if he can step in and be that guy for you. But maybe that's a trade they're looking for. Maybe that's the guy, and a guy like that is who they are currently looking for. If I were to put my chips down right now, I don't think this is favored to happen, but I'm still going to put my chips down on a couple years from now. Zach Benson is this team's second line center. I believe in him as a talent and as a mental player that much that I think Zach Benson is going to be this team's second line center someday. Saying that, knowing he's not done it. He didn't even do it at juniors, right? Matt Savoy was his second line center. All right, when we come back, my first power rankings of the NHL season, run through them and where I have the Sabres ranked. You might feel pretty good about where I have the Sabres ranked. I don't know. We'll ask the listeners when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast with Sneaky Joe DiBiase. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action all season long with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets back if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can do that for the Sabres games coming up even tomorrow. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, $150 bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. You can check it out at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. All right, first iteration of the season for power rankings, weekly power rankings here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. I wanted to get the season rolling a little bit before we did this, but we got it going now, and we will start down at 16 and work our way up. Stay tuned to hear where the Sabres are going to land in my power rankings so far through the course of the year. And I'll run through them pretty quickly here, especially some of the teams that might not be as interesting to you as the season progresses here. I'm going to start at number 16, dead last in my Locked On Sabres power rankings with the Philadelphia Flyers, who have begun the year 3-6-1. I do not like their roster at all. I kind of can't believe John Tortorella is still their head coach. They are on the verge of collapse and blowing it up. I kind of can't believe they haven't blown it up yet. A year ago, I was talking about Joel Farabee as an idea for the Sabres, and he's still there, and they're still trying to win. I don't know. I think they're on the verge of a blowout. They have not played well at all this year. Philadelphia, to me, is the number 16 team in my power rankings to start the year. Eastern Conference only, by the way. Number 15 is going to be the Montreal Canadiens. Not a big expectation from them. They have been horrible, 4-5-1 to start the year. A lot of these teams, record-wise, are going to be pretty close together. So it's going to be, Ty, of course, is going to go to who I had more preseason expectations for, who I think is more likely to get it together. Montreal at 15. Columbus at 14. This might seem disrespectful because in terms of points percentage, they're actually pretty good. They're number 7 in the East so far this year. I've got them way down at 14 because I just don't believe in the talent level. I don't think they have the full roster, loaded roster to be that level of team. Sean Monahan's had a great start to the year, right? Sean Monahan is the number 1 center. It's going well right now. He's playing motivated, spirited. Of course, his connection with Johnny Gaudreau. I don't believe that Sean Monahan's the number 1 center anymore. And I don't think that that's going to hold up. I think Columbus is going to fall back to earth at some point here. I'm hoping they don't, though, because it would be such a cool story if they were good this year, of course. Number 13, Detroit. Not a fan. Not liking Detroit. We saw him the other night. Kane kind of looks invisible most nights right now. And Patrick Kane looking invisible is a bad sign for them because last year he was very important to their offensive production. And if he's not going to thrive, then I think they're going to be in big trouble. Number 12. This is actually an analytics team to start the year. The New York Islanders, in expected goals for percentage, are number 5 in the National Hockey League. But they've been shut out 3 times. They don't have the offensive ability. They never have. And now the wins aren't coming in. They're not able to win these tight games to start the year. 3-5-2 to start the season. I think the Islanders are finally going to have that down year that we've been waiting for. So I've got them at number 12. That's tomorrow's opponent, of course, for the Sabres. Got to win that hockey game. Pittsburgh at number 11. Pittsburgh's actually in dead last right now in the Eastern Conference. Points percentage, .318, only 7 points in 11 games. This is a little bit of a bet on Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson, veteran talent, that they're going to clean it up. They're not going to be the worst team in the East all year long, but I'm not putting them higher than 11th because I don't think goaltending is going to let them be higher than 11th. I think they're going to have problems in net all season long. Tristan Jarry's had a terrible start to the year, and I think the Penguins are in deep trouble outside of their best 4 players. But I think those best 4 players will have them as a bubble team that misses the playoffs by like 4 to 6 points. All right, next up, I've got the Sabres. Number 10. So I have the Sabres being better right now than Pittsburgh, the Islanders, Detroit, Columbus, Montreal, and Philadelphia. You probably would like them to be a little bit higher. I need to see how this second line center thing goes. I need the Sabres blue line to be more consistent, especially Rasmus Dahlin. And goaltending needs to go way up. Right now, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is 60th in the NHL in goal saved above expected. Levi hasn't been really any better. Levi, with a horrible game against Columbus, kind of tanked his season results. He's had one bad game, but it was a horrible game. They need more out of their goaltending. And they need more to be... the Sabres need to be more than a one-line show for me to put them inside the top 10. And right now, I kind of feel like they're offensively a one-line show, and the third line has been good, but now the third line is not together, so who knows what we're going to get. Teams I have above the Sabres, I have Ottawa above the Buffalo Sabres. I like their roster more coming into the year. If you remember my preseason projections, I did have Ottawa in the playoffs, just a tad above the Sabres. So I like Ottawa. 1 game better. 1 point better, I should say, to start the year for the Senators. So it's not like they're off and running. Boston has been bad. Boston's below the Sabres in the standings. Boston's below Ottawa in the standings. Boston's below Montreal and Detroit. And their analytics numbers don't look good either. This is all a good sign. All a good sign that Boston looks this poor. Marchand looks old, by the way. Brad Marchand looks old. And that could be huge if he's no longer the player that they've had for the last couple of years. The reason I'm not putting them any lower than 8th is because I've told you, I'm not betting against the Bruins anymore. I'm not putting them higher than 8th, and maybe that seems a little disrespectful to them, given that it's early in the season and their reputation. I feel like I'm in the middle here. They've looked worse than 8th. Their reputation is better than 8th. I'm going to meet in the middle and put them at number 8. Number 7 is Washington. Washington is number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now in points percentage with a .750. 12 points in 8 games. Ovechkin has looked really good. 2 goals the other night. He's actually got some assists too. Dylan Strome is over a point per game. This to me is a reaction to Washington and their top players are just not elite players anymore. They have a bunch of good players. I think they can get hot like this because of their top end talent like Ovechkin. But I don't think they're going to do it consistently. So Washington at 7. I don't feel more comfortable putting them at higher than that. Toronto has struggled out of the gates. Trade today, sending Timothy Liljegren away. Toronto, I think, is going to figure it out. They have too much talent to be any lower than 6th for me. Tampa, now top 5. Tampa's look great. Tampa, number 5. New Jersey, number 4. I think New Jersey has been flying offensively this year. They look like a super talented team. 3 is the Rangers. Panthers at number 2. Hurricanes at number 1. I think right now there's a gap between number 5 and then everybody else. So Tampa, the Devils, the Rangers, the Panthers, the Hurricanes. I think you can put those 5 in any order you want. You can't put anyone lower in the top 5. That would be my opinion. I would not put anybody lower than 5th in the top 5. And I have the Carolina Hurricanes at number 1. They're a big analytics team again. They're 6-2 to start the year. Just love their roster. I love their build. I love the whole thing in Carolina. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Tomorrow, we are going to preview Sabres and Islanders. We'll actually release that show tonight. So if you're listening here on Thursday, late Thursday night, that'll be out and be ready for you on Friday morning if you're looking for it. So Sabres and Islanders, Friday night. We'll preview it next, and it's a big game. Big game in the standings. Talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thank you for your first listen. Now go check out Locked On Bills with Joe Marino ahead of Bills and Dolphins on Sunday. Also, Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Get your daily tips from Steal and Flip wherever you get your podcasts. Talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.